Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates, coming to you from the Area Command 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. We want to come to you now, and I'm urging everybody to put this out as an emergency message. I am very serious about what I'm saying. This is probably the most important and most sobering program that we have ever done. And I'm very serious about that. What we are going to discuss today, guys, involves everybody, literally. If you don't think you're going to be involved, you're probably wrong. Okay? Everybody around the world needs to hear this message. This is about the East Palestine, Ohio train wreck. It's the dioxin. Dioxin is a deadly chemical, and we're going to get into this right now. But I wanted to bring out the importance of this at the very most important time, and that's at the beginning of this program here. I am deadly serious about this. I couldn't be more serious than anything. This is a very important program. This needs to go worldwide. This needs to go from border to border, top to bottom, left to right, everywhere. You need to share this program. Everybody needs to see this. We need at least 5,000 to 10,000 views on this program. That's how important this program is. And I'm dead serious about it. I couldn't be any more serious about this. Okay, I don't want to spread bad juju. I don't want to do anything but give you facts today. And that's all we want to do, is give you facts about what happened in Ohio 2 weeks ago. Actually, nearly 3 weeks ago. This is bad, okay? This is the Ohio train wreck as we know it, okay? It spread not just from the cars that were on fire, from the wheels on the cars rubbing against the brake matter that slows the train, but that brake and that rail wheel got so hot that it started basically a fire. The entire steel piece of that wheel was on fire. It was glowing. It was seen for miles. Miss Stockard from Salem, Ohio, saw it 20 minutes before the train accident. She saw it from Salem, Ohio, 20 minutes before the train accident. Now, with that said, let's move on here. This is the East Palestine train wreck, and I'm showing you a map of the site of the train derailment. Okay? The red line is the train line, what they call the main line of the train track, the main track. Okay? As that passed Salem, Ohio, the wheels on that car were glowing. Okay? Then it started on fire. Okay? You can see the massive train derailment here. And I want to preface this by saying right now, I do not believe that the train derailment was an accident. I think this was purposeful, and this program will bring that out. Okay? We're going to talk about this. This is Palestine, Ohio. The train derailment was off to the top part of your slide today. Okay? That's where the train derailment, that's where the plume started. And by the plume, I'm talking about the smoke plume. Okay? It's all about this plume in this presentation today. And I'm going to detail why. Okay? Please invite your friends, your neighbors, and your loved ones to look at this program. This is a vital program. This is the most important program we have ever done on this program. Okay? Now, in talking about the toxic plume, this is what it looked like from the air. It went above the clouds and established its own cloud base. Okay? Look at all the toxins in the air here. Okay? Look at all the toxins in the air. This is not just smoke. This smoke plume went everywhere. Okay? The toxins within that cloud spread literally all across this portion of the United States and into Canada. Okay? You can see where the Ohio River Basin is, where that red dot is up in the upper part of the right side of your slide here. That's where the train derailment was. Okay? The toxic cloud has spread literally all the way up into Canada and across the United States here. Okay? Now this is what the original toxic cloud looked like. Okay? This is the NOAA satellite view. Notice how this view shows you where the toxic chemicals went. Now, with that said, this is the Ohio derailment chemical burnoff, sending toxic dioxin by air, water, waterways, soil, including Canada. As this person said, warn your loved ones. Warn your loved ones. Now, I'm going to give you a little background here before we go any further. The East Palestine, Ohio train wreck, it's the dioxin. That's the name of our program today. It's the dioxin. I do not want, like I said, to spread hate. I don't want to spread anything but the facts of what happened. I want to show you the facts of exactly what happened and where. Okay? I know I'm getting a little bit worked up, but guess what, guys? If you knew what I knew, and I'm going to give you that information, you'd be worked up too. This Ohio train crash leaves small town fearful of toxic fumes and confused, and it better be not just a small town. This is the East Palestine explosion update. Confusion and fear continues to grip East Palestine, Ohio, and neighboring communities and neighboring states. Like I said, the toxic cloud dumped chemicals all over Pennsylvania, West Virginia, south, west, and north. The train derailed on Friday, February 3rd, and it was carrying hazardous material. crews performed a controlled release of toxic chemicals from the derailed train in East Palestine. Hours after they evacuated residents in the area, a 1 mile diameter area which spread to a 2 diameter area and then to a 3 mile diameter area. 5 derailed rail cars were at risk of exploding. Now this is the original story. Okay, I'm giving it to you as facts, and I'm presenting it and giving you the overview of exactly what happened here. This is important to understand. That's why I'm doing it this way. Okay? An evacuation order was in place for anyone at first 1 mile, 1.6 kilometers out. Then it went out to 2 and then to 3 miles out. By Monday after the crash, parts of the mandatory evacuation order were extended into Pennsylvania, about 3 miles from the site. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro said the controlled release and burn was going as planned. He said that during a press conference Monday after the crash. Crews monitoring air quality have not seen anything unexpected. I am taking umbrage over that statement. It was a lie, and I'm going to prove it during this presentation today. They said nothing is unexpected. They haven't seen anything unexpected. Really, they knew exactly what was going on. They knew for a fact what was happening and people's lives in danger. They knew for a fact that people were going to die as a result of this explosion. And then it wasn't just the first explosion. And I'm going to go into that as well. Okay? Even the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, said that everything was going to be fine. It's not. On Sunday, Governor Mike DeWine said, and this is after the crash, okay, it happened on Thursday the 3rd, or Friday the 3rd, then we have Friday or Saturday the 4th, and this is February 5th on Sunday. Governor Mike DeWine said a drastic temperature change has taken place in a rail car. A drastic temperature change has taken place on a rail car. And he said at that time that the potential of a catastrophic tanker failure, which could cause an explosion with the potential of deadly shrapnel traveling up to a mile. He asked those who had not yet left to immediately evacuate. Sheriff's deputies went door to door to door to count the remaining residents and urged people within the evacuation area to leave. Sheriff Brian McLaughlin said, quote, "We will be enforcing the evacuation zone." Columbiana County said in a statement, "Please, for your own safety, remove your families from danger." A shelter-in-place order was put in effect for the whole town of East Palestine, which is home to roughly 5,000 people, over concerns that chemicals were going to possibly spill into the air. And that is an understatement. Remember when Mike DeWine, Governor DeWine, said that there was a possibility of a catastrophic explosion from a tanker car that had overheated? The reason it was overheated, ladies and gentlemen, the reason it was overheated was they directed the fire department to spray cold water on the tanker car. The temperature differential of what was inside the car caused that tanker to explode. By pouring water on top of the tanker, they knew exactly what was going to happen. This was not a mistake. It was purposeful. The only people that did not realize that were the fire department personnel, and I've got the data to back that up. I will be giving you all the data here today. Okay? I want to make sure that everybody understands this. Ruth Ann Marie says sage is dangerous. This is dangerous. Okay? It is very dangerous. Sage pup is a dear friend of mine. I'm going to tell you that what has happened here is poisoning a lot of people right now. And the fire's out. But I'm going to tell you why it happened and what is actually going on, and how everyone is in danger. Blue Moon says, I live in Northeast Ohio, 80 miles from the train derailment, and it feels like there is fine dirt in the air and it bothers your eyes. Oh yes. Oh Blue Moon, please stick around here. That's only the beginning. Okay? It feels like you have fine dirt in the air because you have toxins in the air. Those are toxins in the air, and that's just the beginning. Jen Sammy says criminal. It is criminal, and I'm going to explain this. If you aren't agitated, you will be. Okay? Richard Smith says decline of humanity has started. I think it started a long time ago. Like I said, a shelter-in-place order was put into effect for the entire town of Palestine. 2 evacuation stations opened to provide shelter for residents. The people in Palestine were in danger then and are in danger now, as well as hundreds of thousands of other people anywhere near this. And I'm going to expand that out to millions of people, hundreds of millions of people. The National Transportation Safety Board said there were 20 rail cars carrying hazardous materials on the train. 10 of them derailed about 15 miles south of Youngstown, Ohio. Anxious residents are still demanding answers nearly 2 weeks after their train carrying toxic chemicals derailed in the small town of East Palestine, Ohio. A public meeting. Okay, let's talk about the public meeting. Okay, this is another thing that's very important that you guys need to know about. A public meeting was held. And people got upset. A public meeting that was meant to ease fears about a toxic chemical spill in East Palestine only heightened anger when the rail firm Norfolk Southern, which was at the heart of the disaster, failed to show up. Representatives of Norfolk Southern Railway Company, whose train was carrying the chemicals that derailed 13 days before, causing a huge fire, cited security concerns, so they did not show up. Folks, I'm going to tell you right now, it was not Norfolk Southern to blame here. It was another highly informed group of people that were responsible for this. Yes, the rail firm was worried about their own security and their lives. And quite honestly, I would have been concerned too. After the derailment, emergency crews performed a controlled release of vinyl chloride from 5 cars that were at the risk of exploding. These same 5 cars had water, cold water sprayed on those cars. That would cause a chemical reaction. cooling down that rail car because the fire department and the authorities at the scene thought that that would help ease the concern of explosion. That's what they were trying to do. They followed protocol. However, what was in those cars, they were not completely aware of. Okay? Vinyl chloride was in the cars, and they were about to explode. But what happened next is where this issue really goes. There was already a fire. Okay? Thick plumes of black smoke towered over the train. Thick plumes of toxic smoke towered over the train. This was a big deal. Okay? I'm trying to find that. There it is. There's the picture I wanted to show. Sorry about that. Crews that were monitoring the air quality sought to reassure the locals that it was going as planned. They were misinformed, or if they knew, they were lying to the public. If they were misinformed, they were lying to the public anyway. But if they were misinformed, that was not their problem. They tried to reduce the penalty here. Okay? They tried to reduce the anger of the crowd, the citizens of the city. Despite those assurances from officials, many residents say they continue to be frightened of the potential harms which they say had impacted humans and wildlife alike. Now, I tried to bring up a picture that I had saved to my database. Now, they have made sure that I can't show it to you. I'm not able to show you a picture that a congressman took when he was out in a stream after the event. He saw thousands of fish dying in the water and other wildlife dying on the banks. Worms dying on the banks. Worms were not even in the water, dying on the banks. Dead. Thousands of dead fish have appeared in the creeks in the town, while people have told media about their chickens that died suddenly and their pets having fallen ill and died. I told you about that man the other day who was holding a fox that he was caring for, that was in the process of dying in his arms. The fox ended up dying. I don't know what happened to the other foxes that were in the care. He put them in the care of a veterinarian. Many people, including Blue Moon on this chat, that lives northeast of Palestine, many people have reported difficulties getting their water tested. Many people have reported difficulties in breathing. Their eyes in pain because of the toxins in the air. Your skin could be feeling irritable and scratchy, like you can't get any relief. That's part of this whole thing. But people have had difficulties getting their water tested. And this is also fueling the mistrust at what they are seeing as an ineffective and inadequate response to this crisis. Now, all of these people that I showed you here at this town meeting. All of these people were upset, and I have a feeling that that anxiety is not just here in Palestine, Ohio. Many questions have come up. Confusion and fear grips Palestine, Ohio and the surrounding area after the train crash. The question that comes up is, how dangerous are these chemicals? Roxy Trim says, please start putting up plastic on your windows and your doors on the inside of your homes. If you have air filters in your homes that do not vent outside, do not use your air conditioners. Do not use anything that's going to pull outside air in your homes. If you have an air purifier or several air purifiers in your home, use them. If you have to go out, cover your face. Use goggles on your eyes. Protect your skin at everything you can do about it. Wear a hat. Okay? This is almost like being in a radiation state. Okay? I'm telling you. Even before the event began, the company's absence from the meeting left many residents upset and angry. But again, it's not Norfolk Southern's fault. People said they had something to hide. You don't back out of questions if you know how to answer them. Well, I'm going to tell you guys, I do not believe that Norfolk Southern had answers to these questions. East Palestine resident Jamie Kozza, C-O-Z-Z-A, said, quote, "It was like a big bomb went off in our town," unquote. And that's essentially right. Under the banners in the mural of a local high school gymnasium where this meeting was held, hundreds of people bombarded officials with repeated and occasional profanity-laden questions about the air and water quality. They deserve to have answers. One person said, actually it's the mayor of Palestine, Ohio, Trent Conaway, said, "I'm just as frustrated. I live in the community just like you." He was exhausted. Exhaustion was clearly visible on his face. He said, "I'm trying to get answers." I don't believe he may even still have the answers that I'm going to give you. Maybe he does now. I've done a lot of digging for this presentation. A lot. The mayor said he was trying to get answers. We're going to give you some answers today. Just hours before the meeting, Norfolk Southern announced that they would not be attending. They didn't have the answers either. In a statement, the company said that it had become increasingly concerned about the growing physical threat to its employees because of the likelihood of outside parties participating. The likelihood of outside parties participating. They did not have any metal detectors at the doors of that gymnasium. They probably didn't have much security at all, but they should have. The police and the sheriff's deputies had no idea, and probably still have no idea, about this event and how toxic it had been. It's even more so today. Folks, before I go on, and I'm going to continue this, please give us a thumbs up if you appreciate what we're talking about today. Please also invite your friends, your neighbors, your family, extended family, your social media contacts, even the people you work with. This is a very important presentation. Lifelong resident Chris Wallace, who remains unable to return to his home near a local creek, said that many townspeople had long been concerned about the speeds at which trains went through East Palestine, as well as the potential dangers of exhausted staff. Let me address this. Like I said before you, south of the border cars, welcome from Tijuana, Mexico. We appreciate you being here. Thank you for being here. Let me address the train matter here, okay? The trains are allowed to go down the tracks at speed, and they are regulated by the railroad on the specific tracks they're going down about how fast they can travel. And for the most part, I'm saying 99% of the time, the railroad engineers that are in charge of the locomotives do not violate the speed limits on the tracks. Some of them do. I've seen it, and I have even reported it when I've seen it. Then we come to this other thing that he mentioned last, the exhausted staff. Just like airliners and airline pilots, they're so tired right now they can't see straight. Why? Because what has happened during the last 2 to 3 years? Layoffs happening. First, because the train people and pilots, the airlines, did not have enough passengers to fly or to travel. Train loads became few because there were no people working, no people manufacturing product to load on trains or airplanes, and people weren't going anywhere because of what happened. Now these same companies, the railroads and the airlines, are having a tough time hiring personnel, including pilots, stewards, and other people to operate the railroads and the planes. They're operating with skeleton crews. This person that said this had a very valid point. The train crews had exhausted staff. They were tired. Yes, he was right in saying what I'm going to tell you now. They should be here answering questions. Yes, I believe that. Quote, they've got a lot to hide, unquote. They don't want us to know anything. They bombed us, unquote. Like I said, I do not believe that Norfolk Southern was to blame for this. It goes high over their pay grade. JB Maps, thank you for being here. He says, Ron, Mod Squad, and all the other fellow observers, good to see you all. What this town needs to do is start an immediate class action lawsuit against the railroad and even the government. Yes, they have to start a class action lawsuit, and they have. There are many attorneys already working on this. But they have to sue the train company to get at the government that was behind this. They have to sue the railroad to get at the government behind this. The railroad will be exonerated finally in the end, but the people that did this are the ones that were responsible. Okay? Yes, Matt Fury said in the chat here that they could have done the meeting. If they weren't worried about security, they could have done it by video. I agree. And maybe that's what they should have done. Maybe it wasn't available to them at the time. I'm sure that will be addressed. Okay? On multiple occasions, Officials at the meeting were forced to plead with local residents to be civil, with Mayor Conway telling those in attendance that we're all adults here. Okay? This is crazy. This is crazy. The people had a right to be upset, not a right to swear and carry on like they did possibly, but they did have a right to be upset, as even more people do now. Okay? And yes, the Ohio River is still polluted irregardless of what the authorities say. Jesus Amen says, I'm from East Liverpool, Ohio, and I'm 16 miles east of Palestine, and our city water department detected chemicals from it going into the Ohio River. Exactly right. That's exactly right. Now, folks, I'm going to caution you here. One of our mods took a chat down. Okay, Dieter, we could not put that up. It has nothing to do with what we're talking about today. The former president is now planning to visit there. Yes, he is. Former President Trump said if the real president cannot do it, then a former president will. That was what President Trump said. Rizzy Patriot says class action suits mean attorneys will get paid good money. It's divided out to each individual, and they'll be lucky to get $100. Not the way to go. I agree. I completely agree. The attorneys in this case should be civil themselves and not take the entire money that they will be given. Okay? Folks are just angry with good reason, Heather says, and she's right. Dieter, no, you're not banned. I just need you to be careful with what you're talking about. I do not want to get my channel banned by YouTube. What we're talking about almost crosses some boundaries here. But I want to get this information out to all of you. Charlie Alpha Tango says Cincinnati is closing their Ohio River intake to prevent contamination, and that's a good thing. That is necessary. That is necessary. Every city must take precautions on what they are doing to protect their cities and to protect the outlying communities as well. We cannot afford to have what's in the water get any further than it has. Okay? Now, Mr. Wallace and Miss Kuza, who were part of that meeting, said they were banding together with other locals to bring in outside experts to examine soil and water and bring in an attorney to answer questions, legal questions. Inside the crowded gymnasium, officials including U.S. Congressman Bill Johnson, where I was allowed to take pictures to show you today, and those pictures are no longer available. The congressman and other officials that were there faced repeated questions about what many locals said that they saw that is contrary and confusing to what other health guidance that they had been given. Yes, it was confusing because the officials were lying to the public. Quote, they kept saying it's fine to drink the water, but also to drink bottled water, said Scott Miller. That's not an answer, that's a contradiction. Live for everyone to see, unquote. It's okay to drink the water, but drink bottled water. I would not drink anything but bottled water for a very good long time. In the days after the crash, some residents said that they experienced headaches and dizziness and nauseousness. There's a lot more to the health effects of what happened here. We're going to discuss that in a few minutes here. JB Maps in the chat says, from what I've read, these poisons have even entered the groundwater. How far will these poisons contaminate the groundwaters? Everywhere. Which direction do these affected groundwaters travel? I'm going to show you a map of that as well. Okay? I told you the other day that a representative from the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, came to the meeting. After monitoring the air quality, the EPA said earlier that week that it had not detected any harmful levels of contaminants. The EPA official lied. The EPA official lied. And I've got proof. Okay? They said the EPA official also stated that they had been monitoring the air inside hundreds of homes and said it found no chemicals. Again, they lied. While officials at the event acknowledged that the toxins from the derailment had been deadly in wildlife, particularly fish, the head of Ohio's Department of Health, Bruce Vanderhoff, told the crowd that the concentrations of toxins in the air and in water supplies were far below that which could harm humans. He lied. Unless he had been told by people above him that everything was fine, unless he was told by people above him that things were fine, he lied. Why are people getting sick if there's nothing in the air and water? Asked a woman from the bleachers, sparking applause throughout the gymnasium. Congressman Johnson, for his part, provided what he termed a common sense perspective. Quote, I'm not a doctor, and I'm not a chemist, he said. If you got ailments and conditions that you did not have before February 3rd, go to your doctors and get it documented. And that's what I'm telling everybody right now. Get your ailments documented. Well, very well documented. In a statement, the EPA said that he would discuss the agency's air monitoring and the work to ensure the health and safety of the community. Really? His name was Mr. Regan. Remember that name. Mr. Regan, R-E-G-A-N-S, or G-A-N. Mr. Regan, R-E-G-A-N. He's the environmental secretary to Biden. But for some residents, Mr. Regan's visit is too little, too late. One person said, I have absolutely no faith whatsoever, said a young man who asked only to be identified as Owen. Quote, the answers they are giving could be true, but they aren't delivering them in a way that's going to make anybody feel better, unquote. It's pretty dramatic right now, he said. It's pretty dramatic right now, said James Figley, who lives just blocks from the derailment site. The whole town's in an uproar, and rightly so. Mr. Figley is a 63-year-old graphic designer. He was sitting on his sofa the night of 3 February when this happened. He heard the horrifying sound of metal screeching to a halt, metal against metal. He and his wife got in the car to investigate and discovered a hellish scene. Quote, this is from Mr. Figley. There were a series of explosions continuing, and the smell was getting to be horrendous. If you ever burn plastic in your backyard and get that black smoke, that was it. It was black, just black. You could tell it was a chemical smell, burning your eyes. It could get really bad if you were downwind. Fires sprung up from the accident, panicking residents who lived just blocks away. Again, there were 2 different explosions. Apple just gave us a $20 super chat. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that. God bless you. Pamela is asking, does anyone even recognize the Lord tells us to do things right before something happens? Because I just did. I just did a big stock of water. Maybe I shouldn't tell it, but I did. That's not a problem telling. Everybody should be getting water themselves. You should have at least a 6-month supply of drinking water. If you have gallon-sized jugs of water, you should be filling your tap. And I'm not saying to do that anywhere near this area. If you have a toxic cloud, and I'm going to show you the map in a few minutes, if you've had a toxic cloud over your area, and anywhere east will be that area too, east and north, you're going to be in trouble. But people out in my area, for example, in west, you guys should be filling those gallon jugs with tap water. Not to drink, but to use to flush toilets, watering gardens possibly. Okay? Maybe washing your hands. That's what you should be doing. We talked about preparedness before. I don't want to get into huge preparedness right now. That's not part of my presentation. I don't want it to be part of the presentation. This presentation is a presentation of danger and what you might do to avoid this dangerous situation. Okay? This is a disaster. That is why we're talking about it today. Days after the train wreck, after February 3rd, a toxic pillar of smoke towered over the town. Okay? A toxic plume towered over the town. That's what actually happened. Okay? Officials burned off a dangerous chemical known as vinyl chloride. Remember this word, vinyl chloride. V-I-N-Y-L chloride. C-H-L-O-R-I-D-E. Vinyl chloride. That was part of the secondary explosion that I am talking about. What they did was stupid. It was dangerous, and it still is. And it's going to get worse. What they did, ladies and gentlemen, is they dug a huge ditch. From what I hear, it was miles long. Then they did a secondary explosion to blow out the bottom part of that tank car, or tank cars. It was plural. Many tank cars. They blew out the bottom of it to drain that toxic chemical into that great big huge ditch that they dug. It was a deep and it was a long ditch. Okay? Then they set fire to it. Okay? They burned off a dangerous chemical called vinyl chloride before it would explode in that tank car. Again, they thought that it might explode the tank car. They knew it. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, but they knew exactly what they were doing by spraying that cold water on those tank cars. They knew exactly what was going to happen. They planned this. I can promise you they planned this. This was not accidental. Over the next few days, dead fish appeared in the creeks. Congressman Johnson, I told you about that, spoke at that meeting. He went over to the creeks himself. He saw dead fish himself. He saw other dead animals, including worms, as a result of this chemical. It was released into the air. Then it spread. Then it spread. It spread all over the ground. It spread all over the water. Any lakes, any streams, any creeks, any rivers got the vinyl chloride and the dioxin. Remember that word, dioxin. We're going to be talking about that too in a minute. Remember that word, dioxin. Okay? Yes, JB Map said the chassis of the train car was bright red as well. Yes, that might be a little strange to other people. But those wheels and brakes, guys, let me say this again. I explained this the other day as well. Those wheels and brakes became locked up. And when that happens, the wheel and the brake lining gets bright red. That heat went through the wheels and the attached axles up to the frame of the car. Okay? No wonder it glowed. It's no wonder at all that it glowed. And now as the buffering started, I just saw it myself. And they blurred my picture here. Isn't that just great as well? Yes, guess what? The powers that be are going to censor this program. I'm going to stay on here as long as possible. But what you need to hear is what actually happened. Over the next few days, as I explained, even the Congressman, Mr. Johnson, saw dead fish and other animals. Officials later confirmed it. People nearby told the local media that their chickens had died, their foxes panicked, their pets fell ill, and they died as well. Residents have complained of headaches, burning eyes, and sore throats. Yes, I may get thrown in YouTube jail over this, but I will do my darndest to make sure this message gets out, whether it's here or anywhere else. Thomas is very right here. Thomas is in the chat right now, okay? He said something here, okay? Thomas C. Bryan says, which chemicals, when mixed with water, creates hydrochloric acid? We're going to talk about that. I'm sorry your chat got removed. This is a good question. I'm going to answer that. Okay? I'm going to answer that. Now, why they have blurred my picture here, I don't know. Let me take my camera and wipe it on the left here, if that helps. Well, it might have helped a little bit, but not much. They're purposely coming in and trying to alter this program. Please, folks, I want you to get everybody here that you can. Okay? Please get everybody here that you can to hear this program and watch this program. Now, Governor Mike DeWine said on Wednesday last week that while air quality in the town was safe, okay, the governor says it was safe. Okay? Residents near the site of the toxic spill should drink bottled water as a precaution. I'm going to tell all of you right now, it's not just a precaution. This is necessary for your own safety. Okay? State and federal officials have assured residents that they were removing contaminated soil from the site, and the air and municipal water quality were now normal. No, it's not. They cannot remove enough soil to make this safe. I'm going to say that again. They cannot remove enough soil to make this safe. Why am I saying that? Since this toxic cloud appeared, this huge black plume that came up from the wreckage, it rained out toxins literally throughout the air. These toxins spread throughout the air to the ground, and not just at the explosion site. They cannot remove enough toxins from the ground and the groundwater to make it normal again. The disconnect between what some residents have reported and the assurances that officials will continue to issue has led to confusion and fear of people in East Palestine and other peoples of other communities and states. Meanwhile, a mixture of environmental and health experts have questioned whether the site is truly safe. Social media sleuths such as myself have claimed that officials are not telling residents the whole story, and that's the absolute truth. Despite officials' frequent updates and the ire at the railroad company, don't blame the railroad. This has nothing to do with the railroad company. It's not Norfolk Southern. I can promise you that. Some people in the town have welcomed the extra scrutiny, and they should. These are the facts about Palestine, East Palestine, Ohio. Officials have provided some details about the Norfolk Southern train that derailed on 3 February on its way to Pennsylvania. The train hauled about 150 freight cars, what they call freight carriages, 50 of which were hit by the crash. Governor DeWine said at a press conference on Tuesday about 10 of them carried potentially toxic materials. About 10. Can you say more than that? An exact cause for the derailment has not yet been determined by the NTSB, the National Transportation Safety Board. Not been determined. I don't think they will ever be honest in saying what happened. My opinion. But they said, the NTSB said, that it may have been related to a mechanical issue on car axles. That's only part of this. That's only part of it. The cars were carrying, among other substances. Remember me telling you about vinyl chloride? They were carrying vinyl chloride, a colorless, hazardous gas that is used to make PVC plastic and vinyl products, including those little packing peanuts that we've all seen. Vinyl chloride is also a known carcinogen. Acute exposure to this chemical is linked to dizziness, the same thing that people complained about, drowsiness, headaches, whereas prolonged exposure can cause liver damage and a rare form of liver cancer. On February 6th, after evacuating the immediate area, officials conducted a controlled burn of the vinyl chloride. Remember me telling you that this was not just mistake number one? This was down a far line of planned events. This was a planned derailment. I believe this was a planned derailment. Okay? Yes, there was a problem on at least one of the cars. I understand that. But I think that this happened may have been a result of that, but a result of many other things. Okay? But officials had drained those cars, those tank cars, They blew out the bottom of those cars purposely and drained those chemicals into that deep, long ditch. And then they burned it off. Okay? They evacuated the immediate area. They conducted a controlled burn of the vinyl chloride. Federal, state, and railroad experts have concluded that it would be safer than allowing the material to explode and send shrapnel flying through the town. That might be. But this was just or even more dangerous, and I'm going to explain that. Governor DeWine said calling it a choice between two bad options. Governor DeWine even said it was a choice between two bad options. The controlled burn spawned apocalyptic plume of smoke over East Palestine and out over the countryside. The images went viral on social media. Many people were shocked, likening it to a disaster film. Days later, Governor DeWine and Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro and Norfolk Southern declared the burn a success. Really? Declaring the burn a success. And residents were then allowed to return once officials deemed it to be necessary, deemed it to be safe. For us, when they said it was all clear, we decided it was okay to come back, said East Palestine resident John Myers, who lives with his family in a house near the derailment site, saying it was all clear, so we decided it was okay to come back. He said he had not experienced any negative side effects. The air smells like it always does, he said. On Tuesday, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency said that it had not yet detected any significant levels of hazardous substances in the air. The agency has screened some nearly 400 homes so far, and it said they did not detect any chemicals, though they were continuing to examine more homes in the area and conduct air quality monitoring. After the accident, the EPA did find traces of chemicals in water supplies nearby, including the Ohio River, which previously they had denied. Those contaminated waters, the agency said, had entered storm drains. Ohio officials had offered to test concerned residents' water supplies and or drill new wells, if requested. Now I'm going to pause there for just a second. The wells that the city has, the wells that East Palestine has, are protected. The ground above those wells are protected by steel plates. The ground above those wells are protected by steel plates. However, how far do those wells go underneath the ground? How far spread out is that water under the ground? Are those steel plates out far enough and cover the entire area of the wells where that water is? Do those steel plates cover the entire underground water supply? Okay, think about that. By Wednesday, Ohio State Environmental Protection Agency assured residents that wells feeding the local water systems tested free of chemicals from the derailment, and the municipal water supply was safe to drink. For some, it has been hard to reconcile the alarming images of a toxic plume with the all-clear government recently gave East Palestine. Social media users, particularly on Twitter and TikTok, have fixated on reports of harmed animals and images of the vinyl chloride burn, demanding more answers from officials. And guess what? I want and demand more answers from officials. I'm telling officials right now, as you're hearing my voice, you are welcome on this show, but you must show proof of what you're talking about. I will not allow any officials on this network, on my show, to put out bad vibes, lies. I won't tolerate the lies. If you want on this show, you are welcome to come on the air with me. My telephone number is everywhere. You can get hold of me at any time, anywhere. But I want you to know, I will question you, and I will question you vehemently, because I want answers, and I want truthful answers, and I won't tolerate anything less. Okay? The question that was raised by Charlie Tango said, right, I was just thinking, how could we believe what they said anyway? Believe me, if they make it to the air, I will vet everything that they say. I will have vetted it beforehand, and if they start spewing crap, I'll turn them off. Don Patoka said this just now in the chat. As facts do matter, post your source of information if you make a claim. Absolutely. Slow Country says, I don't know if you've covered this from DJT, said he was going to head up there, and boom, FEMA decided to show up. No, that wasn't the case. FEMA showed up before DJT even said he was going to come. DJT, Mr. T, decided he was going to come after the fact, after he saw that the administration was making no moves to visit there or do anything other than visit the secretaries there. And Mr. Secretary Regan lied, openly lied. You and I just read his statements here. His statements were lies, out and out lies. Richard Smith is going to be birth defects after this event like this. Yes, there are. History has proven what this chemical and others like it do. There will be birth defects. Like I said on social media, people posted videos of dead fish and other animals. Officials acknowledged that the phenomenon was real. They had better acknowledge that. Around 3,500 fish of 12 different species had died after the crash, across 7.5 miles of stream south of East Palestine. This came from Congressman Johnson's office. Okay? The Ohio Department of Natural Resources echoed that. Thomas C. Bryan says, thank you for what you do. I was an NBC CEO in the Army. I remember a few things but have forgotten a lot. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you for that $5 super chat. We appreciate it. God bless you for that. We really do appreciate any and all monies that can come from any of our videos. We have bills to pay. We need to be able to provide the bandwidth necessary to put on programs like this, and it's not cheap. I appreciate that. Okay? Anyway, let's keep going here. Officials said that they had not received reports that the derailment or the chemical burn had led directly to the deaths of livestock or other terrestrial animals. Really? Really? Officials knew exactly what this plume had done and would do before they even did it. They knew exactly what these chemicals would do. For those of you that have an MDS, a material data sheet, you can get the book for about $12, $14. Okay? It's a all hazards material database in a book. You can get it online as well. You can visit the the different chemicals that we're talking about here and find out what happens when these chemicals burn, when they're exposed to the air, and other things. The toxicity levels. Okay? They knew exactly what they were doing. Residents in the immediate area have complained of nausea, they've complained of headaches, they've complained of dizziness and burning of their skin, more than a week after the chemicals were burned. That's according to the reports from the West Washington Post, the New Republic, and other local media outlets. Environmental experts said they had misgivings about the government decision to allow people to return to East Palestine so soon after the crash and the controlled burn. Environmental experts said they had misgivings. Why were they not tougher in their statements to officials? Why did they allow the officials to do what they did? Again, people are not being told the truth. Okay? Dieter Andrew is saying Minnesota is nowhere in the jet stream. Minnesota could be in the jet stream, but Minnesota is west of Ohio. The direct contamination will not reach Minnesota for probably another week or two, but it could. This contamination is going to go around the world. Okay? Getting back to my statements here, it certainly feels like state and local regulators moved too quickly to give the green light to people to go home, return to their homes and businesses. David Masher, who is the executive director of the Pennsylvania Environment Research Policy and Center, he said that, and I agree. The state and local regulators moved too quickly to give the green light for the people to go back. That builds a lot of distrust and skepticism from the public trusting their agencies, which is a problem, he said. Okay? This was planned. This was planned. Most coverage of the train wreck in Palestine, Ohio is missing one word. That word is dioxin. 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 Richard Lyles just gave us a $50 super chat. Thank you, Richard. We really appreciate it. God bless you for that. Manx Cat says not worried about the air in Minnesota, worried about the underground water. I agree. Your wells are wells. Everybody's wells. Underground water supply, the aquifers that may have leached chemicals entering those aquifers. Okay? Now, I told you about vinyl chloride. Incinerating vinyl. And we're going to get into dioxins in just a second, because dioxins is an after effect of incinerating the vinyl, burning the vinyl chloride. Studies have shown that when burning is well controlled, as it is in modern incinerators, very little dioxin is made or emitted. The amount of chlorine or vinyl going into the incinerator is not a reliable indicator of the amount of dioxin coming out. In this case, the fire. Rather, the incinerator design and operation have far more important impacts. The incinerator in this case was not an incinerator. It was a huge ditch that they had dumped vinyl chloride into. That vinyl chloride leaching into the water supply in the ground and spreading. However, in uncontrolled burning, i.e. volcanoes, forest fires, old incinerators, backyard burned barrels, and accidental building fires, dioxin can be formed in large amounts. large amounts. We're talking about toxins and dioxins here. Okay? I'm going to leave this up for a minute. I'm going to show you more slides in just a second regarding this. Okay? Most coverage of the train wreck in Palestine is missing that one word, dioxins. There were reportedly 14 tanker cars full of vinyl chloride, a precursor to polyvinyl chloride, that is vinyl. Burning vinyl is the most serious source of dioxins in the environment, whether from trash incinerators, house fires, or chemical spills. While vinyl chloride is a precursor chemical to making PVC, any time chlorinated compounds burn, there will be dioxins created, and dioxin is a byproduct of any manufacturing process involving chlorine, from disinfectants to the bleaching of paper. There was plenty of dioxin in those tanker cars before they caught fire. This mess of 14 tanker cars, really, probably many more, but 14 of them had vinyl chloride, and it was set then on fire with authorization from the government. Apparently to make it easier to clear the railroad tracks, reportedly. This was the worst possible decision. It has turned many, many miles into what should be a no man's land. It has turned many, many miles into a no man's land. But I have not heard one single test for dioxin being done. Not one single word has been talked about testing for dioxin, and there's a reason. They do not want to get that word out. Okay? Please, folks, do not use capital letters. Please. We appreciate that. I don't want to get YouTube kicking me off because someone used capital letters, and it's happened in the past. YouTube looks at capital letters and sees yelling going on, and they don't like that. I can understand that people can be upset, and there's reason for it. I totally understand that. But we need to remain in control. Just like that meeting, people had reason to be upset, and they still do. If I lived there, I would be angry. I would be more than angry. I would be livid. Now, this burn, the explosion at the site originally, there's two explosions, the original one and the authorized burn one. Those explosions and the resulting plumes into the atmosphere were and are going to affect a large region of the country and even the world. This is not, I repeat, this is not a local issue. This massive plume spread far and wide. It spread far and wide. Do you have reason to be concerned? Oh yes. You better be concerned. You need to be concerned. The massive plume will spread far and wide, and it's being blown by the prevailing winds across Ohio, or should I say, it has been blown across the country eastward by the prevailing winds across Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, and other states going north. Toward population centers of the northeastern United States. population centers going northeastern part of the United States and Canada. What I'm showing you here is just a small part of what we're talking about. This went far. This went very far. This plume here blew all over the place. Look at that. Look at this plume from the satellite. It goes far into Canada as well. It goes far into Canada. This is a deep issue. Look at this. This is also a computerized view of where that plume went. The chemical burn-off sending toxic dioxin by air, water, waterways, and soil includes Canada. It says, warn your loved ones, and I agree. You need to warn your loved ones. Now, I'm going to blow this up so you can see it better. Okay? I want everybody to understand what we're seeing here. Okay? This is absolutely necessary. Everyone has to understand exactly what we're seeing here. I have come to deliver truth here. I have come prepared to answer the questions, and I'm going to take questions later. Via land, via water, the toxins can spread in many directions. Water, soil movement, and air. Since the prevailing winds are only an average, and the contamination is so serious that even soil tracking will spread significant amounts. Walking around. Everywhere our shoes go, the toxin attaches to our shoes, and we spread it. We spread it. Who knows how far this toxin has spread outside of the spread areas? How far has it spread? We don't know yet, but it has spread significantly. What few people remember is how the town of Times Beach, Missouri was evacuated and later purchased by the federal government, leveled, and had its zip code removed. This is serious, guys. Let me show you this area. Okay? The town was completely evacuated. It was fenced off so no one could get near it because of chemical contamination. Chemical contamination. It's now a state park. It's now a state park, though I'm not sure who would want to picnic there. It's now a state park. Dioxin has been silenced for generations. Nobody even wants to say those words. No one wants to say the word dioxin, let alone even see that word. But what I'm going to tell you is this. It's the truth. I have taken this from the books that I have opened and delved into. I've taken it off the internet. What I'm going to tell you right now is the absolute truth. Everything that I've stated so far in this presentation is the absolute truth. Dioxins are acute toxins on one level. There will be a lot of dead fish and animals in the path of the Ohio plume, and people will get very sick immediately. Kids are extremely sensitive due to their low body weight. Dioxins are hormonally toxic, and two, they are extremely persistent, and they then build up in the food chain, generally in lipids. They are bioactive. All this BS onto viruses is absolutely true for dioxins, though the contagion factor is different. Running through families, for instance, pass through mother's milk. affecting whole communities through a toxic release. Affecting whole communities through a toxic release. Dioxin has been out of the news for more than 30 years. Therefore, very few people today have any sense of the problem, including journalists and editors. It is one of the most seriously environmental issues, but the background is not known by nearly anyone, and that's partly why we posted this history here. After a series of fraudulent articles in the New York Times that claimed that they are as dangerous as sunbathing, the issue disappeared. Yes, the New York Times said the toxins as dioxin were as dangerous as sunbathing. Yeah, right. A federal reassessment of the dioxin's toxicity was stuffed in the early Clinton administration. They wanted the word dioxin to go away. They wanted the word dioxin to go away. It's dangerous, guys. This is extremely dangerous. Okay? I'm telling you, it's extremely dangerous. I want to show you something else here. The next slides I'm going to show you here, I'm taking right off my database here, because I want you to see this. This is the chemical database here of dioxin. You may not understand it, but I wanted to show you this. The double benzene ring structure. The double benzene ring, that's the green rings here. That's benzene. Note the double benzene ring structure, which then makes them extremely durable and persistent, meaning dioxin is not going away. The shape, a planar and flat molecule. It's largely responsible for its toxicity, benzene. Note that the chlorinated dioxin goes by several other names, including TCDD, and it's sometimes abbreviated 2378. Dibenzofurans, or furans for short, are nearly identical in their toxicity, but they are spoken of much less. Many other chemicals, such as PCBs, that you see in great big huge boxes on the side of our streets. Okay? Big huge generators have PCBs, and they are considered dioxin-like compounds for regulatory purposes due to their toxicity. In addition to vinyl chloride, several other substances on the train could form dangerous compounds when burned, such as dioxin. Peter DiCarlo, who's a professor at Johns Hopkins University who studies pollution, said that other substances on the train could form dangerous compounds when burned, such as dioxin. This is coming from a professor at Johns Hopkins. That, as an atmospheric chemist, is something that I would want to steer very, very, very clear of. Adding that he wanted the EPA to release more detailed data about the air quality. He wants the EPA to release more data about the air quality. Why? Because, folks, once the dioxins are on the ground, even the smallest breezes are going to reactivate those dioxins into the air. Blue Moon said earlier on this chat that she felt like there was grit in her mouth and in her nose and in her eyes. Okay? That is coming from particles in the air. That's coming from particles in the air. Now, there are at least 4 lawsuits now. We talked about lawsuits a few minutes ago. There are at least 4 class action lawsuits that have been filed by East Palestine residents against the Norfolk Southern Railway. Again, I want to tell you, I do not believe that the Norfolk Southern Railway is responsible. Yes, I love railroads, okay? I love railroads. I have studied railroads. I am very familiar with railroads. I'm not trying to protect Norfolk Southern. Norfolk Southern is going to be sued. It's only part of the process. Because in the end, we're going to come to the realization about who was actually responsible, if they allow that data the light of day. Okay? 4 class action lawsuits have been filed by East Palestine residents against Norfolk Southern Railway, alleging that they have been exposed to toxic substances and have suffered severe emotional distress, as they have. As every resident in that area, including East Palestine. They have suffered emotional distress, and that's not all. What they are going to suffer as a result of those toxins being allowed to burn is unconscionable. Aubrey is asking, wasn't the chemical released in the India release a few decades ago? Yes, it was dioxin. Dioxin has not been allowed the light of day. The Clinton administration could have put a kibosh on it. Okay? And now we're getting buffered again. Isn't that real? It's unreal. Yeah, we're getting buffered way, way down. This is incredible. They don't want this program to air. They really don't. It goes, my kbps goes very high, and then it goes very low. They don't want this program seeing the light of day. Isn't that interesting? A lot of our clients, the attorneys say, are really considering possibly moving away from the area. And I'm going to tell you, anybody anywhere near here should consider getting the heck out of Dodge. Wiping down your furniture before putting it on a truck. Wiping it down and then throwing the rags or the paper towels away. Getting rid of as much dioxin and any of the other chemicals off your furniture, your clothing, everything, will not spread the chemical. But if you put furniture and clothing and bedding and linens and everything inside a truck and move them, you're only spreading the disaster. Okay? East Palestine residents Ray and Judith Hall are involved in a class action suit against the railroad. This is supposed to be their safe haven, their happy place in their home. Well, guess what? It should have been. And now they feel like their home has been infiltrated, that they're not so sure that it's a safe haven anymore. And rightly so. On Tuesday, a reporter asked Mr. DeWine, Governor DeWine, if he would personally feel safe returning home if he lived in East Palestine. He said, quote, I would be alert, I would be concerned, but I think I would probably be back in my house. That's the governor. How dangerous are these chemicals? Vinyl chloride, butyl acrylate that we talked about the other day, ethyl hexyl acrylate, and ethylene glycol, monobutyl, and others were released into the air, surface, soil, and the surface waters. Vinyl chloride, butyl acrylate, ethylene hexyl acrylate, and ethylene glycol, monobutyl, and ethers were released into the air, the surface soil, and the surface waters. Exposure to vinyl chlorides has been associated with heightened risks of certain forms of cancer, according to the National Cancer Institute. State officials said that harmful levels had not been detected in the community. Well, guess what? We've already proven the toxicity of the community. Okay? Grace for purposes, we are here for the long haul. Hang in there, everybody. I would appreciate that. Heather is saying that using orange oil to clean and vinegar and baking soda. I agree. Okay? I agree with that. A few of the cars contain vinyl chloride, which breaks down into two byproducts. Two different byproducts when it's burned. It turns into hydrogen chloride and phosgene. 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 Remember that word. Phosgene. All protocols for removing polyvinyl have been pre-written. You can find that. Aaron Bluetee just gave us another $5 super chat. People need to understand what this event means. All bets are off. I agree. All bets are off. Everybody thought that the Missouri incident was gone. The Clinton administration tried to close the book on dioxin. Well, guess what? It hasn't closed the book. Officials 50 and 60, 70 years ago tried to close the book on Love Canal. Well, guess what? Whatever happened at Love Canal is happening again. Dumping chemicals into the soil is not an answer. Dumping chemicals into the water supply, into the air supply, is not an answer. Okay? They do not, any of the protocols that they followed, they do not include an open air burn. All the protocols that we talked about earlier do not include an open air burn, which is exactly what took place. Hydrogen chloride and phosphine gas is a World War I chemical weapon. Hydrogen chloride and phosgene gas was a World War I chemical weapon. Dioxins. What's really going to do the killing in East Palestine? What is really going to do the killing in Palestine? Dioxins were released. Dioxins is the overall environment except for the event that has been declining. Dioxins in the overall environment have declined except for this event. Except for this event. This event has raised the flag. Vinyl chloride exposure is associated with an increased risk of a rare form of liver cancer, hepatic angiosarcoma. Hepatic angiosarcoma, as well as primary liver cancer, hepatocellular carcinoma, brain and lung cancers, lymphoma, and leukemia. Hepatic angiosarcoma, HA, is a high-grade aggressive tumor, accounting for 2% of liver cancers. How much vinyl chloride causes cancer? Studies of long-term exposure in animals showed that cancer of the liver and the mammary glands may increase at very low levels of vinyl chloride in the air. Very low levels of vinyl chloride in the air, 50 parts per million. Lab animals fed low levels of vinyl chloride each day, 2 milligrams during their lifetime, had an increased risk of getting liver cancer. That's lab rats. Vinyl chloride can irritate the eyes, just like Blue Moon said. The mucous membranes and respiratory tract, your throat, your respiratory tract, your lungs. Escaping compressed gas or liquid can cause even frostbite or irritation of the skin in the eyes. Notice we said earlier about irritation of the skin in the eyes? Chronic exposure can cause permanent liver injury and liver cancer, neurologic or behavioral symptoms, and changes to the skin and bones of the hand, because our hands are exposed. Why is vinyl chloride not eco-friendly? These toxins are building up in the water, the air, and our food chain. Installation of an in-home activated carbon filter can remove most of the vinyl chloride from water. Installation of an in-home activated carbon filter can remove most of the vinyl chloride from the water. Using bottled water will also reduce exposure. If you use contaminated water for other uses in the home, i.e. bathing and washing dishes, ventilate the bathrooms, the washrooms, and the kitchens during and after each water use. If your water supply is contaminated, showering, bathing, or cooking with the water can release the vinyl chloride into the air where you can breathe it. Recovery is usually quick if the exposure is stopped and fresh air is breathed. If the exposure is stopped and fresh air is breathed. Drinking contaminated water can also expose you to vinyl chloride. Drinking contaminated water can expose you to vinyl chloride. People may begin to taste vinyl chloride in water at 3,400 parts per billion. Vinyl chloride is not easily absorbed by the skin. So once you dry off and your skin is then exposed to fresh air, if it can be exposed to fresh air, meaning you being exposed to fresh air, the water washing off and being blown off in the air might help decontaminate you from the water. Now let's talk about that World War I poison, Phosgene, Phosgene. Phosgene. Its chemical name is COCl2. COCl2. It's a colorless gas with suffocating odor like musty hay. Exposure to phosgene may cause irritation to the eyes, dry burning throat, vomiting, cough, foamy sputum, breathing difficulty, and chest pain. And when liquid, frostbite. If it's liquid, it can cause frostbite. Workers may be harmed when exposure to phosgene. What does phosphine gas do to a person? Poisoning can be caused by phosgene depends on the amount of phosgene to which a person is exposed, the route of exposure, and the length of time that a person is exposed. Phosgene gas and liquid are irritants that can damage the skin, the eyes, the nose, the throat, and the lungs. Phosgene inhalation may cause literally symptoms of respiratory tract irritation. Patients feel fine thereafter and then die of choking a day later because of the buildup of fluid in the lungs. Let me repeat that so you will clearly understand what we're talking about. Phosgene inhalation, breathing it, may cause initial symptoms of respiratory tract irritation. Patients feel fine thereafter and then die of choking a day later because of buildup of fluid in their lungs. Delayed onset of non-carcinogenic pulmonary edema. delayed onset of non-cardiogenic pulmonary edema. Phosgene exposure is associated with significant morbidity and mortality. It is estimated that as much and as many as 85% of the 95,000 gas deaths in World War I were a result of phosgene, or the related agent difogene, or trichloromethane, chloroformate, sodium hydroxide, or anhydrous ammonia have been used to neutralize phosgene. Sodium hydroxide or anhydrous ammonia have been used to neutralize phosgene. Non-flammable for small fires, use dry chemical or carbon dioxide. Use water spray. A fog, guys, a heavy fog, or foam for large fires. You people that are firefighters will understand what I'm talking about. Okay? B Sled Jog gave us 10 pounds. I really appreciate that. 10-pound super chat. God bless you for that. Brilliant work and info on the channel. Thank you. Be safe and keep up the good work. And thank you. We will. God bless you for that. Now, one other chemical that's been released. It's called butyl. Oh, what happened here? Okay. We talked about dioxins. We talked about vinyl chloride. Okay, I want to make it clear. And I will take questions after my presentation. Write your questions down. If you have questions, write them down. Okay, please. I want to answer as many questions as possible. I want it to be completely crystal clear what happened over there in East Palestine and what my feeling is, my opinion is about what's going to happen. The other chemical that was released here, it was called butyl acrylate. B-U-T-Y-L, butyl acrylic, A-C-R-Y-L-A-T-E. Butyl acrylate appears as a clear, colorless liquid with a sharp, characteristic odor, acrylic acid. It is used as a raw material for fiber processing agents, adhesives, coatings, plastics, acrylic rubber, and emulsions. Exposure to butyl acrylate can cause headache, dizziness, nausea, and vomiting. Dangerous fire and explosion hazard. Okay? NIOSH, which is a government agency, says the recommended airborne exposure limit is 10 parts per million, averaged over a 10-hour work shift. That's what NIOSH says. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency has classified acrylates as a possible human carcinogen. Exposure to acrylates have been linked to skin, eye, and throat reactions, as well as more serious health consequences such as cancer. Historical damages in times past, with the likelihood and likeliness of this event to humans. Okay? Damage will in time pass, but it's going to take an extreme length of time. Again, I reference the Love Canal. I reference what happened in Missouri. A long period of time. And in Missouri, they turned the place into a park. Who would want to be there picnicking? Okay? Historical damages pass in time. And the likeliness of this event to humans, water, air, land, ground, pets, and farms is tremendous. Okay? The damage to humans, air, water, land, ground, pets, and farms is tremendous. Do I need to repeat that again? At safe levels. What is safe levels for an adult? We don't know. There is no safe level for pets and small children. In all, they keep stating is about adults. All the experts are talking about is adults, and I question that. For a 6-foot man or a 5-foot 5-inch man or woman, how about the fact, and it's always brought up, adults? Rarely do I hear it's safe for newborns, babies, toddlers, small children, small pets, medium pets, wild pets, large animals, wild animals. I hear the word safe for animals. Is that how many pounds of weight of the animal? Particulates can intermingle with other compounds in science, biology, chemistry, and quantum science. A known fact is this: particulates can intermingle with other compounds in science, biology, and quantum science. Nanotechnology that was involved. Okay? And I'm not going to even get into the nanotechnology. I don't know much about nanotechnology. But let's talk about the degree of heat that can be attached to the main chemical, even while it burns. Remembering the wind directions on that day and the clouds in the sky, the final answer is this chemical. These chemicals traveled. They have been felt. They have attached to things. Why else would houses need to be cleaned with a power water cleaner? They're saying, the EPA is saying, the state is saying that they're going in and testing the air quality of the homes. How about taking a sample of someone's wall in their home, or several walls, or several places on walls, and examining what the potential is for those chemicals on the walls of somebody's house? Or how about the roof? How safe is that? You do a power clean of the roof, all those chemicals and toxins are going to fall down to the ground, onto the ground, where some of them already are. It's going to make matters worse. Plus, you're going to get them airborne too. Whenever you make a spray, that spray goes airborne. So is somebody power cleaning having to wear a respirator or something? Probably. Now, power cleaning does not take out from open heater ducts or air conditioning ducts. Open area holes in the ground and the water. Anywhere. The basement. Nanotechnology is always involved with today's chemicals and compounds. Twice there was a fire. Twice there was a fire. The first one at the train, and then they set fire, and there was another explosion. The first round from the derailment, and it continued to burn and simmer. Then the second fire came in. Okay? During the first round of the derailment, there were exactly 13 booms on that day. The second round was the prescribed burn explosion. Pop, pop, pop. Explode, explode, explode. The people that did this were fully aware of what they'd done. The people that did this were fully aware of what they had done. Not necessarily the firefighters, but I'm talking about politicians. I'm talking about government scientists. They all knew exactly what happened. Advisors to the governors better do their research, and they better tell the government and the governors the truth. And the truth needs to come out to the people. They poured cold water on those filled chemical tanks, which caused the tanks to further heat up. They knew this. The tankers build up heat, which would cause those tanks to explode. They knew that. In order to avoid the shrapnel from being flung for miles from a tanker exploding, they attached an explosive to the bottoms of the tanks to drain the tanks into a deep, long ditch, a gulch, for the chemicals to drain into, and then they lit those on fire, further spreading the contamination. They told the people that the only way to get rid of the chemicals was to burn them. Well, guess what? They did not follow the protocols to rid themselves of the chemicals, or they would not have done what they did. They did not follow the protocols to rid themselves of the chemicals. They burned them and spread the damage. They blew holes in the bottom of the train car to drain their ditch that they dug. Then they set the ditch on fire, knowing full well that this would spread and the chemical would be airborne for hundreds of miles. I've shown you evidence of what I've been talking about all throughout this presentation. I've shown you the evidence. Ladies and gentlemen, we have 371 thumbs up, which I greatly appreciate. If you leave today, please give us a thumbs up on your way out. But I'm now here to answer questions. Richard Smith says, need filter. Biobubble would not be practical but would protect. I agree. Drew Black says, Ron's report is comprehensive. Thank you, Ron. I appreciate that. Hacksaw says, white static noise on TV when not on station. Drown out listening devices and cover the talk. I don't know what you're talking about there, Hacksaw. Northern Sasquatch says, I agree with what he just said, but they definitely knew how they could do this, and they not, it's unthinkable. Yeah, what they do is unthinkable. Or excuse me, what they did was unthinkable. If they went to that MDS, that material safety, or MSD, the material safety data sheet, okay, if they had gone there, they would have found the information on how to get rid of the chemical, but they did not do it. I have given you that information today. I've given you that information. MG Told Legion says, Miss Cookie, yeah, I don't get bottled water because of Alexa Pure, but that's wonderful you have Alexa Pure. Use it. Okay? But if I did, I would only get distilled water and be careful where that comes from. I agree with that. Darcy is asking, Ron, should we be concerned here in Maine? Yes. Absolutely. The cloud went north and east. I would be concerned in Maine. Sweet Tooth says, I'm in West Pennsylvania and disgusted. These chemicals go down 8 feet into the ground. How are people in Ohio and Pennsylvania going to be able to sell their homes? They won't. Or maybe BlackRock, yeah. How are they going to sell their homes when anybody knows that these areas have been contaminated? Yeah. What happened over in Missouri? The government had to buy up the homes and buy the land so people could relocate. Heather said they should have transferred the chemicals into other properly marked cars. That's exactly right. That's what they should have done, but they didn't. Northern Sasquatch says, sorry, they knew it's simple chemistry, and your video will show this to many others. You can share this, absolutely. Please share. Okay? Was it the balloons that were flying over? No, Pamela, it was not. Okay? Reverse osmosis systems will remove most chemicals from the water. Yes, absolutely. Sage Pup, thanks for being here, my friend. God bless you. I appreciate you. He says he has to leave. Is it normal to put that much toxic chemicals together, Kelly asked? No, it's not normal. It's not normal. They did this on purpose. Casmirio is saying part of depopulation, possibly. Okay, possibly. Stormwriter says, question, can water treatment plants handle contaminated water? Possibly. Possibly. Example, used for toilet flushing? Yes. But what's going to happen when that toilet flushes? That water is going to go into the atmosphere where you're at. The dioxins and chemicals will go into the air that you breathe. Okay? 6 months of testing, no garden, no fishing, no swimming. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Northern Sasquatch says hopes are the chemicals freeze at high altitude and neutralize at high altitude. That's hopeful, but I doubt it. Berger's saying they follow their agenda. Yes, they have. Yes, they have. Okay? One whom Jesus loves says, I believe they did it on purpose. Yes, it's very apparent. Everything that I've shown you today, it's very apparent that this was purposeful. Okay? MG Toe is saying this area is going to be like Chernobyl. Absolutely, it will be. It will be a no-man zone, a no-go zone. Okay? Pamela says, I just saw on Google News today that they were making a bill that no one from certain areas or other countries could come in and buy the land here in West Virginia. Seems kind of funny right now, doesn't it? Oh, yeah. I believe that that's the right thing to do because China and Russia have been coming up and building or buying up our land. It needs to be stopped. Dudley Wicker says, sell it to the immigrants. No, I wouldn't sell it even to the immigrants. Okay? Sweet Tooth says, I have grow tents. Seeds already started, and that's probably a good idea. Thomas Byron says, moved out of Ohio in 2017, Canton, Massillon area. Missed me by that much. Oh, yeah, I know. Groveland Gals here from Central Florida. We appreciate you being here. I don't think those of us south of this event, from where I am south, I don't think we have a problem. But people north and east may have a problem. Okay? No country or anyone else should buy our land. I agree. Nobody. It's got to stop. The plume was over my town for 3+ days, Sweet Tooth says. I'm sorry to hear that. Yes, it was. Carbon filters and windows help? Possibly. Possibly. Albert Sanchez says, great, excellent presentation on. Thank you. Thank you very much, too, for being here. Okay. Mr. McMittens is saying 30 miles east, both me and my family, or my wife, have had constant on and off headaches since the 7th. I'm sorry to hear that. Document it. Go to your doctor and document it. Get it documented. Okay? MG Toast says, let's relocate the woke people there. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Dominic is asking, how bad do you think this will be for Lake Erie? It's going to be bad. It is going to be bad for Lake Erie. I would not fish out of Lake Erie. I would not eat anything out of Lake Erie. Don't let your friends, your family, or anyone else swim in Lake Erie. Northern Sasquatch says this is criminal at the highest levels. What is the population of Palestine? It's about 5,000 people. Palestine has about 5,000 people. Tomas Z says, hello folks, Mr. Ron, I have a different point of view on this topic. The purpose may be, and now I have a problem with saying about what I think. I'm sorry. Okay? Yes, you can have a different opinion. That's not a problem. One whom Jesus loves says, we had a mini Chernobyl where I lived years ago. I believe it was the 50s. Yes, we did. Love Canal. Lots of people with cancer from that area. Absolutely. They had to close the area of Love Canal. It may still be closed. I don't know. Stay away from Lake Erie at all costs. Stay away. Don't get anywhere near it. Don't breathe the water. Don't get in the water. Don't drink the water. Don't eat fish or any wildlife anywhere near that lake. Okay? Anywhere near the Ohio River. And I've been there. I did a disaster drill in Cincinnati. I've done a disaster drill in Kentucky and Tennessee. all that area are going to have to answer for what happened. Okay? It's going to happen. Bonnie Lassie is asking, is this anywhere near Bill Gates' farmland? No, it's not. If this person's right, Sweet Tooth says Nestle's gets their water from Lake Erie, I wouldn't get anywhere near it. I wouldn't get anywhere near it. Regina Bray says she's late. I'm sorry. Please go back and listen to this entire program. It's absolutely necessary. Don't not listen to this. Don't not watch it. Joanne K. said, we heard the governor was livid with train officials. They were not told what was going on that train. Again, guys, the governor and the governments of any state may not know exactly what is on a train. The train has a manifest, and anybody can go back and find out what's on that train. And that manifest is available anytime. But again, it's not the train company. It's not Norfolk Southern. It's people in a higher pay grade. Okay? It's a people in a higher pay grade. Okay? Nestle's bottle is loaded with fluoride. I don't drink Nestle's water anyway. And yes, most water is. Rock Alpine says it's just a matter of time when this happens in anyone's backyard. You're right. Okay? Anyway, guys, I'm going to get out of here. I don't know how long we've been here, but I know it's been a long time. We have 370 people that are watching now. This program started over 2 hours ago. I did not mean for it to go that long. I appreciate everybody that's been here, though. I appreciate and care about you guys. Joanne K. says it wasn't listed on the manifest. It should have been. It should have been. Somebody dropped the ball. Okay? Sweet Tooth says, I think that here in Pennsylvania, we'll have to pay for water. Soil testing from outside labs. I don't trust their labs. I don't trust them either. It's not the lab's fault. The labs are going to put forth the information. However, maybe the government will tell the labs not to be accurate or not to show it. That's where the trust is. Okay? The one whom Jesus loves says, I'm going to watch yesterday's show with my husband and children and take notes and discuss it together. That's a good idea. Okay? Appreciate that. Anyway, guys, I'm going to let you go. I hope you've had a good time here. I hope you've gotten information here that you could use. Everything we have told you came from extreme study. I've been pulling information for 2 weeks since this happened. Aaron Blue Tea just gave us another $5 super chat. I appreciate that, Aaron. God bless you for that. Thank you so much. Anyway, guys, yes, the states are going to have to use their own labs, and the states are not going to be truthful. Rarely are they ever truthful. And I'm sorry I even have to say that. Anyway, guys, have a blessed weekend. We will be back tomorrow at noon with Come Follow Me, the Savior Said, with another lesson out of the New Testament. I hope you have a good day and a better tomorrow. If anything else happens, we'll be back on the air tonight or as soon as the information becomes available. Until then, we will see you later. I see you around the country, around the corner. Have a great night, everybody. God bless. See you soon. Bye.